This is David Sumrall with StopHate.com again, and we have with us Chris Hyzy. We spoke to him a couple of weeks ago, and he had the altercation on the property with the management company where some of the tenants there were having a barbecue, and he, the party got out of hand. There were too many people. It was social distancing, and he went out to ask them to leave, and they had fires going on a property that you're not supposed to have fires, and a fire extinguisher involved. Long story short, they attacked him. They attacked him with a fire extinguisher, physically attacked him, and so he came a couple of weeks ago and told us the story, and we've been trying to help him find some help with that, some more media outlets, representation, whatever way we can help. That's what we do. And also today we have Bailey Delaplaine, and I think I said that right. And she has a
yes, you did.
on Facebook, right? And that's the Essential Workers Group. So what we're going to do is introduce them and just kind of carry on where we left off. We've been chatting for a few minutes, and it's really interesting to hear people that are probably on a different political side than I am talking about the same things that the people on my side talk about. So it's really interesting to cross this line that we talked last time, Chris. We're not supposed to have this conversation. We're not supposed to help each other. We're not supposed to love each other. We're breaking all the rules tonight, and I just want to thank y'all both for coming in to visit tonight. And just let's kick it right off. Tell me a little bit, Bailey, about your group on Facebook there, because I know I'm a member now. I've been trying to catch up with it, but it seems to be growing strong. How's this?
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you for your support and supporting the essential workers. Thank you for having me on your show today. Pretty much about 4 months ago, when the COVID pandemic first hit us in New York, long story short, to be honest, myself and a couple good friends of mine, we were just mad. We were working as essential workers and being compensated with nothing, pretty much. We were making less than what people are making on unemployment. We were making above our state's minimum wage. We didn't have any hazard pay. A couple friends of mine weren't offered, protective PPE that they're entitled to. And it was just a big, bad situation. And I kind of said to my group of friends, I'm like, listen, we can't be the only people that feel the way we feel. Let me try and start this group up. I'll start it up on Facebook, and let's just see where it takes off. So on April 17th, I started up the Facebook group, Give Essential Workers Essential Pay. We took off right away. About a couple days later, I was contacted by Business Insider. I did a feature with Business Insider. They just talked a little bit about my essential job, and they talked about the Facebook group. So after that publication came out, we blew up. I started up a Twitter account with us for @EssentialDough. NPR found us on Twitter. This woman from NPR got in connection with this woman who's been helping me with our Twitter platform, and she featured us on Twitter. And since then, it's blown up. We're not the only ones. Yeah, we're not the only ones that are pissed off at this, have terrible working conditions, haven't gotten any hazard pay, and are just paid an extremely below livable wage for working during a pandemic. And it's sad, and it's something that I want to fix and that needs to get fixed.
No, I understand. And that's the thing. It's just like any law. It takes enough people saying, hey, we need to address this issue and we all need to work together. But Bailey, give me just for people that may not really quite understand what we're talking about as an essential worker. The workforce has been so devastated. People don't really have a good working definition sometimes of, is my job essential in the first place? What is an essential worker, and why are they important? So either one of y'all, Chris or Bailey, either one of y'all can take that one.
I'll start off here. Sorry, Chris, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
And I think that you'll agree. It's just that I think the way when this country shut down back in mid-March for COVID, I think there was a lot of kind of loopholes in what is essential, I guess. It just seemed like there was a lot of people working, not really because we needed them for the economy, but so their bosses and the government and corporate whatever could make a buck off of COVID and we're just stuck here working. To be honest, I weld. I don't weld in the field. I don't work in a grocery store. I don't work in the hospitals. I worked this whole time. Did I need to work this whole time? Absolutely not. And there's millions of others like me that were like, are we really essential, or do our bosses just need us to make a quick buck? So I just think that there are so many loopholes with like what's essential and non-essential when we shut down, and now COVID is out of control and just spiking like crazy, and
Well,
just it's not going anywhere.
no, it's not. And we live in a world of liquid definitions. Everything's changing from what social distancing, the feet number changes, everything from what kind of mask is safe to what's not. And, they keep moving the goalpost, it seems like a lot of times. And so as an essential worker, I know a lot of people that I talk to feel like if they have to feed their families at all, that's an essential job because their families, they got to pay their bills, and so there is, you know, and that's what's kind of frustrating, I think, to a lot of people. What is it? So enough about that. Honestly, essential workers are. Chris, you want to add anything to that as far as?
I I would just say that as far as the essential worker part goes on a political spectrum, is that we're essential as far as keeping the economy running. When you shut down everything, you started to go, shit, people are still working at home, but businesses are shut down, restaurants are shut down, our economy's taken a tank. We need to classify more businesses as essential, not providing PPE, not providing hazard pay, not do the things that we said we were going to do, and offer those necessities that we have to protect ourselves, our family, our friends, and our loved ones. And it was to push us in back to go to work. And because we realized the economy was falling apart, you had a third of the country that is classified as somewhat of an essential business. And then we started, like Texas specifically, you started to open bars back up. Is that essential? Condom stores, is that essential? Strip joints, is that essential? And it just became that everything is essential. But what an essential worker is somebody who's providing a good and service to keep the economy running. And it's something that you can't live without. Like, you can't live without food. You can't live without housing. You can't live without life-sustaining things. You can live without going to a strip joint. You can live without alcohol. I think it's funny that Texas classified alcohol as essential.
Same with New York.
Yeah.
That's where, both of us have our own opinions of what's essential and what's not. I think church is essential. The government, not so much. It's just one of those things. But,
Yeah.
it's the time when I want to be around people that I love, that, and not to, I know hugging's out of the question. I'm a hugger. But, I know that, but just being around, singing together, stuff like that, really, spiritually and health-wise, being in a crowd, that herd mentality and health and immunity, I guess, the herd, but that's a whole nother subject. Well, so Chris, talk to me. I know you've learned a lot in the last couple of weeks about, this whole situation. I know that you were thrust into it. It's kind of like we talked about. Nobody wants to get involved until it affects their life, and unfortunately, that's, if you'd
Yeah.
have been an advocate before it happened, I know you would have, because it's very important, and you get it. But now that you're a victim of it, it's even more important. So tell me about the hatred and the threats, and what's some of the results of what you're seeing from society, from your peers, from people on
Yeah.
your side, both sides.
So, following from our last conversation, as far as being assaulted, is Greystar Real Estate Partners, again, the largest real estate company in the country, one of the largest, if not largest, in the world. After being told to do my job, I get assaulted, I get gay bashed, I have injury. I literally, just before we got on this call, I had an appointment with a neurologist. I have to go get an MRI done. I have to have an EEG done now. I have to have brainwave activity done. I also have to have a balance and mobility test done. And we're talking that I was assaulted almost 2 months ago. And
Yes, insurance covered that, is just all out of pocket stuff.
Some of it's out of pocket. Most of it's going to go through workers' comp. But workers' comp works for the company. It's just similar to saying, like, oh, I have HR. HR is an extension of your legal department. They're not there for you as the employee. They're there to minimize loss. They're there to make sure that you fire the person the right way so they can't come back and sue. So where we're at with this right now is that Greystar's positioning is that I incited my own attack. That even though I went out there and did my job, that I did enough to cause myself to get gay bashed and beaten, and now have life-sustaining injuries, and who knows what else is going on inside my head right now because workers' comps push this off. What I find the most disturbing by this is the fact that these individuals are felons now. You've committed a felony hate crime, a felony assault. It's punishable with 20 years in prison, a $25,000 fine in the state of Texas, and these people still live there. And Graystar has done nothing to do any, like, they haven't evicted or anything like that. So why would you? Oh God, no. The company opted that I'm one person and I am one individual. And
what, didn't you have a coworker? Was it Ramon or something? What was his name?
My husband. Yeah, my husband was there, and then I have one of the maintenance technicians that witnessed it. So what's transpired since then?
Is he still employed, the maintenance guy? Okay.
Yeah.
Are they threatening him?
So
everything's cool?
So from what I understand with it is that they didn't go after him. They were threatening me. So there wasn't really a reason to get rid of him. But I'm sure if they turn around and start going after him, the residents do, or threatening him because he's going to get subpoenaed and whatnot, I'm sure that they're going to do something. They're going to do something to him too. And the sad thing is that my leasing agent, who's gay, he wanted to transfer and they never discussed that opportunity. And then they hired somebody else while he was out. And then they promoted my assistant manager, who is not experienced. She's got experience, but this is a beast of a property. So it's a lot of like smoke and mirrors issues that are going on. But the one thing I want to preface on this is that with Dallas police, the detective that I was dealing with, I have dealt with police that just turn their back on the LGBT community. But during my interview last Friday, it went from a 2-minute nice conversation, how are things going, please tell your story, into immediately calling me a liar and saying over and over and over again that I refused medical attention, that I said I was fine, that I wasn't injured, which would all be false statements, seeing as I have a litany of different doctors I see now. And for people to understand is everything outside looks fine. The bruising's gone, the marks are gone, the scratches are gone, those things are gone. We're talking about potential brain damage. We're talking about hearing loss. We're talking about eye issues. We're talking about PTSD, psychological, physiological damages that you can't see, and it's difficult to quantify that. So
yes, it is.
For Dallas, and people will understand, okay, you got attacked, but I'm not missing my eye. I'm not missing half my face. I don't have blood streaming down. So it's difficult for people to always understand that pain is not always something that you can quantify and you can visually see.
Well,
and
we're not
sometimes
like that. We're programmed to the blood and guts and violence, and that's when we know it's a better TV show or a better movie, the more gore, and so we're desensitized to it. So if we can't see anything on the outside, we're sure not going to see anything on the inside.
Right, and I would say psychological thrillers to me are scarier than oogie boogie bloody movies. It's there's so much more that happens inside. It's how it's all related into your pain management and just being able to deal with things. But with the police specifically,
absolutely,
yeah.
But you'd rather get physically assaulted than mentally, because that will heal. But the mental stuff, it's just really strange. Thing. It really is.
And with the police, to preface this is I'm not an anti-police person at all. I think the police, I have friends of mine that are cops. I think they do a great job. I think that you have some rotten apples that are spoiling the bunch. And unfortunately, those are the ones that continue to act the way that they do. And this detective, I'll say his name, Detective Rudy Contreras, sat there and called me a liar at least a dozen times. Literally told me to my face that he wasn't even going to investigate this further because I'm just a liar, that he's going to go to the DA's office and he's going to have this case thrown out based on the fact that he thinks I lied.
Why? And why would he take it personally upon himself? He's a homophobe?
Who knows? I mean, Dallas PD,
take it personally upon himself to say, I'm going to make sure that this doesn't get the attention that it deserves. See, that's what makes me sad. It's like the comment that we saw earlier on the group when the guy, talking his little trash. I'm thinking, man, you didn't even watch the video. I think it was on the YouTube channel.
Right.
I was like, you didn't even watch, because at 40 minutes in, we're talking about things that affect everyone. It's not just a one-sided thing. We've got to get to the bottom of some things together, and that's the whole thing. But so what needs to change? I know the police department is dropping the ball big time. Not even dropping the ball, they're punting it on purpose, and that's never good. And we've all experienced this, you know. Like you said, there's a couple bad cops that ruin it for everybody because bad news travels faster than good news. So of course we're going to hear that, and not about the guys that are helping people, you know. But at the same time, what needs to change there? How can we have more accountability?
I know that Bailey's going to, agree with a lot of this, is that we were promised hazard pay. We were promised protection. We're promised PPE. And one of the bigger things on this is just on an employer level is that your employer cannot sit there and tell you to do your job. You go out and do your job. You get told what a good job you're doing. And then they turn around and they say, you're fired. You can't, that's ridiculous. That if you want to talk about,
promised you hazard pay. Your employer
no,
did?
I'm saying no. I'm saying that coming from a standpoint of what we need and what we deserve is like on a national level, we were promised hazard pay. A lot of our companies discussed this with us and said, we're looking at offering a bonus. We want to offer this. If you contract COVID for doing your job because we're essential, what protection do we have? I don't get free medical. I have to pay for my prescriptions, my medical, my time off. My company wasn't offering anything. I'm sure that Bailey's in the same situation. Our companies weren't offering us money and weren't offering us and say, you're essential. We want you to come back to work because, hey, we're a $1 billion company and we want to make more money. Even though there's a pandemic going on, we're not going to change for you. We're going to give you some crap masks, some crap face shields, maybe some gloves, some sanitizer that's watered down, but it's your job to sit there and do more. It's your job to find more. And that's what has to change. And it's
I was told that no raises for anybody because COVID, and we just bought an expensive $500,000 laser cutter, and good luck getting hazard pay because I'm never going to pay it and y'all are lucky to have a job. Here's some pizza.
Yep.
You old boss.
Yeah.
You. I am waving up a middle finger to the camera right now, and I hope y'all get this. Sorry, I know we're big mad over here in the essential workforce.
And I can say from.
Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can say from Graystar is that in the beginning it was, let's play bingo, and here's cookies, and here's lunches, and here's this and this and this and this. And that's when we were fucking locked down. And then you opened our doors, and it's like, do your fucking job. Oh, you're sick? Well, you need to go home for 14 days until you have 1 to 2 negative tests. We're not going to pay you for that. We're not going to offer you shit. We're going to sit there and make you feel like you're a pariah on society. And then you shut down the whole rest of the offices. And there are people right now that if you get sick, is there anything in Graystar's corporate policy manual or any of our policy manuals that says, hey, guess what? You're sick and you were doing your job. Someone spit at you, like in my situation, pulled my mask off. And where's my protection? And these employers have to do more. And you've made more money during COVID.
Yeah.
And there's no federal regulation to back the employees for the PPE situations when they don't have the masks, or when clients or customers are getting in everybody's faces. There's no federal regulations to protect the employees. It's up to the employer. So the employers are saying, meh, up to you guys. I don't care.
And when you get attacked, or when you would, if you would get attacked or you enforce this, I'm not the only employee that's been fired. And I have friends of mine that have been fired. I know in the essential group, there's been people that have said, I did similar. I may not have gotten gay bashed or attacked, but a customer called me a fucking bitch and I responded back and I said something and I got my ass fired because the person threatened to go on social media. And those are things that are just, it's unacceptable. Your employer can do more. And during COVID, during this 4-month period, a lot of employers had made more money, and they made more money on our backs. They're not doing anything different. They haven't changed their structure. They've laid a lot of us off. They've cut a lot of our hours. They've cut our benefits, and you're making more money.
Think about that.
Yeah, I was actually, I heard through the grapevine. I'm pulling up a message right now from just somebody I know through Rochester. My old boss said that I was laid off due to lack of work, but a friend of mine kind of asked somebody and they were like, yeah, the boss was tired of your mouth. Like me for speaking up, I guess, but whatever.
Yeah,
well, free time to start this group and get some attention and get NPR and Business Insider, and I mean, you're getting the attention. You know what I'm saying? That's how you affect things. on
I
board.
mean,
So what have you
yeah,
done
I
as
mean,
far as congressmen, senators, meetings with anybody? Have we tried to reach out to Abbott and tell him he's really messing up yet? I mean, anything like that?
Got from my side, my state representative in the U.S. Congress is Colin Allred. So every day I sit there and I go through every one of his messages and I say, what about essential workers? What about essential workers? I get the post office is our big thing right now, but postal workers are fucking essential workers. And guess what happens during election time? You're going to sit there and you're going to see postal workers get attacked. You're going to see post offices get attacked because people are going to be convinced that the post office is against us, or whichever way the election spins, you're going to see, I guarantee you're going to see attacks against postal workers. And when these eviction moratoriums expire, you're going to see more attacks on property managers. And as people go on further and further and further, and they're wearing their masks longer and longer, I mean, my joke earlier was I said, I don't like wearing underwear all the time, and I'm sure women don't like wearing bras all the time. But guess what? Those aren't sustaining your life. That's not protecting you from, you
I
know.
don't know about that last statement, but
maybe the underwear part for some people, but it's just.
I mean, I'm no Joe Exotic, but
yeah.
I'm sorry.
But
I'm
the
so
thing
trashy, y'all.
But the thing is, on a level is I've been pushing and I've been reaching out. I've been pushing our city council, and because they're in budget season right now, we're being forgotten about because as there's consistent statement is, well, you should have gotten a different job. You shouldn't be making, I wasn't making $7.25, but you should have found a better job.
Everybody wants a better job right now, don't they? So that's not really logical.
Well, guess what? If these weren't better jobs, then how the fuck are we deemed essential? If we all stopped and got better jobs today, what the fuck are you gonna do?
First
like
off,
honestly.
Sorry to interrupt here, but like most people that are like, oh, get a better, higher paying job, get a this, get a that. Y'all ain't working.
No.
Just saying.
Or they're working for the government. See, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
And
I don't even. Yeah.
If you're a government employee, you're working with the other side. You hear me? That's
Yeah.
just, they're working against us. So, you know, one of the things that I want to kind of address. Go ahead, Chris.
No, I was just saying. I was just going to say, and one of the things that people need to understand in this is not a Democrat issue or Republican issue. This is an everybody issue. This affects everybody. I have friends of mine that are Republican that have dealt with this, Democrat that deal with this. This virus is not one-sided, and it's never going to be that way. And everybody has their own opinions. They're taking information from different news sources. CDC says one thing. Our companies tell us something else. But what everybody needs to understand is this is all of us. This affects every single person. And don't sit there and tell me that we don't deserve hazard pay when we're pressed with opening the economy. And don't tell me that we don't deserve PPE. When I left my company, we still never got the big, huge plastic shields. And we were open for a month and a half at that point. And you opened us up without proper... Yeah, they have them at Home Depot.
And a mask. You can't do anything. You're screaming at each other trying to, how much? You know, it's really weird.
Yep. Yeah, and we weren't ready to open the way that we opened, and we're all seeing that now. And I don't think there's many people that can deny that fact. That I agree, open back up, but we didn't wait long enough, and because there was so much pressure to open these economies and people with lost jobs and whatnot, which is totally understandable. I mean, thank God I don't have kids because I don't know what I would do.
You know, we see other models in other countries. Where is it? Somewhere that really just cranked right back up, and they're doing really good. I mean, and in
Taiwan.
I'm not
Italy, I think, is one of them.
Make it a political thing, but Trump shut down China and Europe travel before anyone even died. I mean, before we had one death, he tried to shut that gate. So it's all interior travel. Nobody stayed, or they didn't lock it down hard. That's what the goal is. But now, guys, and I got to be the advocate. Somebody's got to put the rub in and just test it. I've got to give you a little rub on this and say that, you know, some people still don't believe it is what it is. They don't see increase in the death rate. There's numbers, but there's not a huge spike in overall death compared to last year. And they're saying, so some people are the opinion that if Biden wins in November, that the virus is just going to go away and it won't be as big an issue, and that he'll get credit.
Well, let's all cross our fingers that it goes away. I don't give a who, like, I give a who wins. But if
But
we're
is it
saying
being,
November, yeah.
but is it being overly politicized? And
Oh yeah.
can we get
Yes.
traction as an essential workers group? Can we get traction with enough people that believe there's an issue there? Is what I'm saying. A lot of people, because look, Fauci came out the first time. He said, people really don't need to wear masks. He doesn't do what they think. And then he comes back and says, we need masks. Then they see you need the N95. Then they see you can wear panties on your face if you want to. It didn't really matter. I mean, as long as you put up something. And I get all that. I get it. But, we're going to run out of masks at first. And we found out that they kind of lied to us because they're afraid that the hospitals and the nurses were going to run out and that the public was just going to snatch them all up. And then they had enough, and then everybody kicked into their manufacturing, and then they supply. But it's just really weird to see that whole thing go across and then not get. And now kids are back in school. School's starting back up everywhere, and people are trying to get back to work. There's a lot more traffic out there, which, like you said, Chris, we need to get going somehow safely and make sure, because I don't know that we're getting the whole truth about what long-term effects of COVID are. I don't know that we're getting the truth about anything. So, I'm kind
Or
of
if we ever will. Yeah, we may never not get that truth. And that's the frustration on this is, and I know, David, you and I talked the last time about this, is about both sides. This is a bipartisan fight. And when you have one side lock the other side out of the room and then about it, and then the other side goes back and does the other thing, who the do you care about? Do you really give a shit about me as an essential worker, Bailey as an essential worker, or is this because you're coattailing all these other policies on this? You could just sit there and put together a $3 trillion project and say, this is going to go to housing and urban development and police and this and this and this, and it not go to military, and it not go to it make a separate bill. This
things that we don't want to do, represent us, like we were talking, in term
Yeah.
limits, term limits.
Get rid of coattailing. Get rid of coattailing on these laws. If you want to have a law for U.S. Postal Service, it's one law. It's not one law and all these little other things and like a payroll tax and an increase on what the Congress makes, because it's a smoke and mirrors thing. Our system is designed so much to dupe us.
Yes.
Yeah, it's designed to victimize us.
Yeah, it is. It is, and keep us in our place. They make their retirement, they get their benefits package. I really feel like that way, and maybe that's the next thing we need to tackle is building just a huge group of Americans. That's not. We don't care about party. We talked about that last year. I'm sick of the red and blue thing. I'm tired of the division thing, and I just really want to see people be able to say, "Hey, I'll work with you. I don't care. It's like we don't agree about everything. I don't have to condone your lifestyle. You don't have to condone mine. But we can sure be friends and learn how to work together on some of these issues that affect everyone." And that's why
the two-party system isn't working. It hasn't. There's always going to be one side that's disenfranchised, and that's how it's always been and will always be. Up until when they first started presidential runs, is you had two people that ran, and whoever lost became the VP. So the office was always balanced. That will never happen, but I see essential workers, and Bailey and I talked about this on our podcast, I see essential workers being the next Tea Party. I see the essential worker movement being something that when we organize is we could flip elections going forward. And it doesn't mean that we flip an election and we only go Democrat or only go Republican. We go by, you have a job and you failed. And if you fail at your job, I get fired. I get let go. Yeah. So if you're going to sit there and run office and you're going to get elected in November, you have 100 days from the point that you are inaugurated into your position and you sit in that seat to fix. And if you can't fix, then you need to say, I can't do my job. I have executive powers. I have judicial powers. I have legislative powers, whatever it is. And I'm not fixing this, so I need to step down. This is too much for me. It's just, or get demoted.
They go there to work for us. They should have a short period of time to get that done. They should have a full list because it's a things to do list that we send them with. Go do these things. They shouldn't have time to make their millions of dollars. They need to be working for us 4 to 8 years, and you need to go back to your job. You don't need a lifetime benefits. That's the way it used to be. You serve your country. Your country doesn't serve you and all the people in it. That's what. Oh, so Bailey, what else can we do? What's planned for your Facebook group and your Twitter? You said your Twitter was @essential, or what is the name of it?
Yeah, our Twitter and Instagram and Reddit is just essential dough, like essential, and then the word DOE. I'll send it. I'll send it to you after here.
That's
But
great.
it's just kind of like a funny little thing that one of my friends who actually like my government brain on this whole thing. He's been with me since before day one. He kind of helped think of like, well, there's essential workers everywhere on the internet. How about essential though? So that
That's
was like our kind of little thing to
that's
make
great.
us pop.
All
Yeah.
inclusive. I like it. Like
Yeah.
junkie public or something. That's great.
Yeah.
So what do
So
y'all
that's
have
been
planned? Action items.
um
Do y'all have a list of senators? Do you have a list? I mean, because what I would like, for a number of reasons, if we had just a big list of all the congressmen, the senators, districts, states, everything broken down, and people could access that list, then that can be just a simple call to action. Go to, if you want to use stop8.com, go to stop8.com, look up your state, call your senators, send letters, make noise, because that actually works. If you get 500 people calling, and they're going to listen. I mean, eventually they have to. But I know,
oh
Chris,
yeah.
it seems a daunting task to make all those calls yourself daily and to do all the and it's overwhelming. I know you stay busy and your fingers are probably getting skinny over there, but it's a lot of work, isn't it?
Well, pretty much just what I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to just grow our group's platform. We just made it to over 9,000 people this morning when I woke up on the Facebook page, and
Congratulations.
like a little, thank you, in like just over 4 months. So just a lot of different organizations and groups that I've been talking to that I've worked with, like workers' rights and labor movements and everything. They're just telling me, right now, get people gathered together. You've got the right thing going. You guys are new. You're starting out. Pretty
Are
much
you
just don't.
seeing are you seeing pretty even support from the left and the right? Is everything pretty much even? Or are you more from the left or what?
Um, Personally, I don't really. I don't really, to be honest, I don't really favor either sides. I'm
You
kind
don't
of more of
quantify.
like it.
You don't have like
Yeah,
more
I'm
friends on one
more.
side that you approach. They're coming to you from everywhere, aren't
Yeah, like I'm kind of like libertarian, I guess, is my political stance. So like for the group page, pretty much, I mean, you guys are familiar with the internet. People love arguing politics, and like
you?
eh,
Yes.
it's crazy.
Or-
Like, this is my side. I am left, I am right, and I am right, and you are wrong, and you will not change my mind. And
Can't
that's the
stand
kind
it.
of stuff, yeah, I hate it. So we're trying to kind of keep that type of stuff off of the Facebook page.
Sure.
It's been an issue. We're a new group, but like right now, I brought on one of my a good friend of mine I've known for a couple years, and my friend who's been with me from day one, who's very educated and knows a lot about politics and government. Those two are just trying to really pinpoint the group and try and keep the politics like focused on like, okay, this is a political post, this is an article, what good does it do for the essential workforce?
Right.
So
Right.
everything political on our page, we are kind of looking at, okay, before we pick a side here, which side favors the essential workforce and which side's going to get us hazard pay, which right now is unfortunately the left side.
I
So
understand.
I
I
guess,
understand.
which I guess you could say we are leaning a little bit more towards the left, not
Mhm.
because of like this or this or that or that, but because they're the party right now where if we're going to get hazard pay and equal workers' rights, as of right now, and that can change by next month and by elections. Who knows? Who knows? That could change tomorrow.
That's right.
But
Well,
yeah,
I
but
see that.
just so
I see. I see Chris has some basic preliminary designs, some rough mock-ups of some product, and I'm really excited about that. Every movement you need something to be able to show. You
Yeah,
know,
I
your
I was
wish.
walking around. I was walking around the one day, and I saw from what is that movie called? Oh, and it said "Save Pedro." It was one of the "Save Pedro" shirts.
oh,
Um,
Napoleon Dynamite, vote for
Napoleon Dynamite.
Pedro.
Oh, that was good.
I
I was
love
gonna have to
that
start. I was
movie.
gonna have to start drawing or pantomiming or having to do the
Love
dance,
it.
and none of us want to see that right now. But I saw this shirt that
I
said "Say
do.
Pedro," and maybe later. Let's see how things go first, and then I'll dance it for everybody.
There you go.
But I
That's the
saw
viral
the
video you're
shirt.
looking for. That's your viral video you're looking for right there. Just do that.
Yeah, yes, I'll be on Dancing with the Stars soon. When I saw that shirt, I kind of clicked in my head. I was like, I'm going to restaurants, I'm going to bars, I'm seeing waitresses and waiters and bartenders and grocery store workers and this, that, and other thing, retail workers being called and screamed at and yelled at and spit on and coughed on. And I was like, I want them to sign this petition. The petition I started, change.org/the4 essential workers. And I was sitting there and I was like, we need shirts, we need hats, we need onesies, we need cups, we need pens. It goes a long way. It really does. And I've made the little.
That's another thing you can do, run your little contest, and whoever shares it, signs the petition, does this, does that, free stickers, free t-shirt, whatever, and just, blast out there, get people to just share it for you. And
we're looking at doing bandit signs, political signs, and yes, there's a political element to this, and we try to keep as much of the politics out of it because it really doesn't do anything. It's just going to be you either agree or you don't agree, but there's an emotional, moralistic undertake to this whole thing, a psychological effect that we're having. I have friends of mine that are in the medical industry now that are having to pull plugs on 8-year-olds and 9-year-olds, and it's difficult enough when you're 98 and you're having to deal with that person that you didn't save, so to speak. They've lived a long life, but there's a psychological damage, and again, does not have to be a political thing. We shouldn't even have this conversation, and that's what's so infuriating. And Bailey and I talked about this. Just like that animal cruelty law that was passed this year. You mean it wasn't a felony before to beat the of your dog or drag him behind your truck, and now it is? Texas just passed the law a few years ago. You can't have an opening container in your car, and I'm like, where the the United States? Oh, Texas. I was like, it's Texas, and I was like, what the why is this a law?
Who these people work for, and seriously, it really makes you wonder who they work for. But the whole animal.
You have old blood. You have old blood in our government. You need to just like dialysis. You got to get the old blood out, and you got to put new blood in there. And the younger generation will lead that. The ones that are, and ones of us, like including myself, that have dealt with this hatred and dealt with being turned down by their employer and the police turning their back and everything like that. Those people like myself, like I'm a big AOC fan. She went from being a bartender, and she's one of the most outspoken. Yeah, most outspoken, and not everybody.
Her Twitter with our group stuff for sure.
Yeah, not everybody likes her, but she went from being an essential worker, and I think a lot of people crap on her.
We're losing
Did
our
you
connection.
see the documentary Bring Down the House?
I'm just kidding.
Sorry. Wow, what did you say? but that's something that's so important to this, is that ones of us that are dealing with this injustice, that we start running for office, and I think that's what the Essential Group and with what you do with the Stop Hate Group is that, again, you don't have to agree on everything. You have to agree that it's just not going right anymore. I mean, it's not, and it hasn't.
It's the same thing, and you're dealing with this now. It's new for you. You didn't have to deal with it before COVID. You didn't have this issue, but we've had hate for a long time, and I've for years and years, and I've had times in between. You get enough death threat, you want to lay off for a little while and let your family grow up and stuff before you get everyone killed, because it's like that. It's one of those subjects. So listen, I appreciate the help from y'all on letting me help y'all. It gives me some credit, I guess, for trying to help, because that's really what we do. And all my titles on social media, like Twitter and all that, is help stop hate, because we just really want to help stop hate. And that's one of these things that I definitely look for issues like this that we can work together and just show that we're Americans first. All that political stuff, I really don't like it. It's just made to divide us. And I think the more we talk and the more we learn that the more people feel the way we do, it's really going to shake things up more than if we argue with each other all day long, because we never make any progress doing that. So, but that's one of the things. So Brittany, action wise, work with me on that. I mean Bailey, I'm sorry, I called you Brittany.
That's okay. My Facebook alter ego.
So I want to work with you on some of those action items. Let's figure out what we can do to try to rally the troops and get a couple people involved, making some positive calls and some emails and stuff to some of our, congressmen, etc. Just see what their thought process, see if we can get a response from them. And I've got one friend that he lives in the UK, but he mails his parliament all the time, and I think he's up to 26 letters or something, and they respond every once in
Wow.
a while. Never usually the answer that he wants, but they have, I think, gotten his post address probably written down somewhere with his picture on it. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
okay though. He gets some noise, squeaky wheel and all that stuff. But that's really interesting. So I hope what people have learned, from this little chat so far is really what an essential worker is and why they're important, and some of the hatred and things that you've seen as a result of this incident happening to you. It's bad enough that it would happen to you, but then people try to, like beat you up after the fact about what happened to you. And it's just sickening. But also what needs to change. That's really the most important thing in addressing this and trying to get the PR that we need. And really, like NPR and Business Journal, that's fantastic to get some coverage like that. And I hope more outlets pick it up. And once again, I'll send this, of course, to all my friends. We've got a lot of friends in the media all over the place. So
Yeah,
hopefully,
same here.
and yeah, it really helps. It really helps. And all these connections and stuff is for a reason, and it's to help each other. And
Yeah.
like I said,
And people do care about the essential workforce. I've made a lot of great collaborations and connections on Instagram this week. Just
that's right.
different, just public figures or just people that were basically like Chris screwed over at their essential job and fired for whatever unfair reason that are just dedicating themselves to fight the cause. This
Right.
is wrong. It's up, and kind of like to
And
get political. Left
and
or
just
right. What's right is right,
and
and what's wrong is wrong.
and just like stop hate, this has to stop. Like this is happening probably right now while we're on this podcast, that somebody else is getting attacked, somebody else is being wronged by their employer, wronged by the police, wronged by their government. And if we don't mobilize and vocalize enough, it's just going to keep happening. It's like we have to hold our elected officials and our first responders as the police and our employers responsible for this. They have the power to create change. Quit riding on us to make you more money, and sit there and say, you know what? I could dedicate $1 billion and say, out of my $36 billion I made this quarter, I could dedicate $1 billion a quarter, and you wouldn't even fucking notice it. And you could do something more for your employees than, like Bailey said, a pizza party. That pizza party, great. You brought pizza in that probably has COVID on it. Congratulations.
Like,
just give me the money.
Like, we're
Yeah.
adults. We have families.
Yeah.
We're not like a high school after school club that you serve poppin' pizza to. Like,
it's insulting.
it's
It really
degrading and it's pathetic. And I live right next to, I can almost look at it out my window, but like I live right next to this sign for this group home in Rochester that's like a big old billboard, and they're all over my city that just say heroes wanted. It's like, okay, you guys, this billboard costs $10,000. How many thousands of dollars when an ad on Indeed for home healthcare aides would cost $20?
Wow.
It triggers me, and it pisses me off.
Well, hey, when are you running for office? That's what I want to know.
Me or Chris? Chris, right?
Either one of y'all. Both of y'all.
Oh my!
That's all I'm going to say. So, we have a hard time people.
I got a little bit of a rap sheet, but like, I mean, if I'm in office, I'm gonna have political power, so I'll just sweep that shit under the rug.
Right.
I mean, like, there's enough pedophiles in office, and I ain't never done no pedophile.
Wow. That's
so
cool.
Yeah.
I mean, if these pedos in office can sweep that under the rug, my little teeny misdemeanor ain't gonna mean nothing.
Yeah, but I think I think there's a definite point with that, is that people like us that are dealing with it, that are mobilizing, we do need to look towards that. And I had a great interview with a gentleman named Edward Escobar yesterday, and we talked for 2 hours, and he was like, what do we need to do? We need to mobilize. We need to get a protest going at City Hall. We need to be pushing essential workers. We have the banners, the signage, and that's what we need to start seeing again, because we saw it for a long time. And yes. I don't want to, I preface this by saying I never want to take away from BLM and what they're doing, but they're doing something that it's causing attention, but just like with essential workers, we're out there protesting like BLM is protesting, and we're being told, let's get all this change. All this change is going to happen. It's not happening. So there's groups out there, as I keep saying, is if Essentials joined up with BLM, joined up with the LGBT movement and whatnot, we would have such a force to reckon with that it would be impossible for any political leader to not sit there and side with us and not sit there and give us what we want. And I think that people view what we want as outrageous because they didn't get that. And you got to work from home. You didn't have to worry about coming home and dying. You didn't bury your sister. You didn't bury your mother. You didn't bury your best friend because you got sick and you may have infected them or whatnot. And what we're asking for is protection, pay, and safety. These are fundamental rights. This is like you asking for food, water, and shelter.
It's a basic human right.
I'm not asking for anything crazy.
Unfortunately, the political climate that we live in, it's really hard for anybody to join with anybody else because then you're taking on their political opinion, their whole stance, and everything, and then water's poison. If somebody goes negative, it takes the whole team. Now we find that on the right, we find on the left. People don't want to work together. They don't want to lend support to each other.
And all of our complaining and all of our needs are so paralytic. When you get down to the bottom of it, we all want to be treated with dignity, respect, equality. These are basic things. I have friends of mine that, like, David and I know this, like, I'm like you said, Bailey, I'm probably more libertarian than anything, and Green Party. And I have a couple Republican, I have a couple Republican things, but I have a couple friends of mine, I do like getting into fights with them with politics. But at the end of it, like, we'll sit there and just like, it's starting to get to that point where you're about to say, like, you're stupid, and you just go, okay. And it's kind of, it's just kind of like, okay, just like, we're not going to agree, but I heard what you said. I listened, I processed it, and you're frustrated, you're mad, you're angry, you're disappointed in the system, you feel let down. And why do we have to live like that? This is not the American dream. This is not how things are better.
I don't feel like there's forgiveness. I don't feel like there's grace or understanding. You're not listening to listen. You're listening to respond, to cut me down, to put me in my place. And that's not family. And I think everybody is looking for that family. So, I hope that, we can continue this relationship. I know we will, but, we'll do a follow-up here again in a couple days.
Definitely.
Whichever one, and just touch base and see how things are going. And of course, Bailey, I want to talk to you again soon about, a list and what we can do. We'll get a form letter. I know that it's a lot easier for people if they know what to say instead of just telling them, hey, call your congressman. They'll say,
right.
But if you give them a piece of paper,
because we have a ton of members, calling, emailing, and myself and other. I mean, I'm on Twitter a lot. I'm all up in Andrew Cuomo's all over his Twitter. But like, it's like what one of my admins who's been with me on day one. He's kind of been telling me like, we can get bigger. Let's get bigger before we send an official, group letter, I guess. So. Like you said, like we got a lot of work to do because everything's happened so fast.
Yeah. Sure. But it's like I told one of my other friends did a viral video. I mean, he made a video of himself. I don't know if it was a professional video or whatnot, but it was really good. And it was just him, and he just spoke to the camera and gave his heart, and started a whole movement off of that. So just be authentic in yourself, Chris, man. You're charming as you can be, and people see that you've got a good spirit, good heart. It's just a matter of getting the attention, the awareness, and we just want to help. I want to help y'all, do that however I can. Congratulations.
Turn off.
Bailey.
Yeah, turn off Real Housewives, turn off TMZ for 30 minutes, and get on Reddit, get on the essential groups, email your congressional leaders, call them. Take 30 minutes out of your day to change. Do you want your children to live like this? Because this is how it's going to be. And if we don't stand up and be more vocal about it, both sides are going to deal with this for the rest of our lives. We're never like, I'd love to get to a point where you don't have to agree politically, but Democrat, Republican, it should just be Americans. And that's all it should be. Just Americans.
Caring about each other. It's funny. I'm working with some people on a 9/11, kind of project. It's the 9/12, the 9/12 phenomenon of the day after and how we all got along and cared about each other. And we can do that again. We don't have to have another big emotional event. We can do that right now, and that's what we're trying to push. Like I said, I really appreciate both y'all, and Bailey. We look forward to speaking with you again. It's a pleasure to meet you, and Chris, as
Yeah,
usual.
you too. I'll come on anytime.
Absolutely.
We like to talk, apparently.
Well, you
I
know,
know. I can
All of
talk
us
all
do.
day. Sorry
Yeah.
I go off on tangents. My bad, guys. Sorry I swear a lot.
that's okay.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, I may beep out some of that stuff. Like I said, my mom watches. It's kind of funny to see that
Oh
thing go
gosh, and I threw my middle finger up. Just take that whole thing
That's
out. My bad.
okay. That's okay. I'll turn it to the light. Pointing at the light or something.
We are mad people. Like the essential workers, we are mad. We're stressed out. Like
You know
our
what?
feelings are everywhere. Like
You know
we're
what, though?
wiling out right now. Like I'm sorry, David's mom. I am so sorry, but like
No,
life's
it's great.
crazy.
But Bailey, that is, you know, it's okay to be mad, and that's how things
Yeah,
really is. And there's people mad all over the country. This is not
everywhere.
that we want. This is
What
the America that we all love, and we want better. You know what I'm saying?
one thing
Exactly.
I'd love to say is Bailey and I discussed this the other day is thank an essential worker. Thank them. Thank them for bringing up your groceries, for bringing a cocktail to your table. To the people I have thanked have almost cried. And when I was thanked for some of the stuff that I did before I was wrongly terminated, I went home that day and I was like, I got to end this day. And because somebody said, thank you for caring, thank you for giving me a mask, thank you for having sanitizer available. That's stuff that changes us and prevents some of the psychological damage that we're starting to go through and some of the PTSD that we're going to start experiencing because of this kind of hatred. Thank somebody. It's free. And it makes a huge
keeping us
difference.
going. Yeah. It's the only, I've talked to a lot of people in like grocery stores and retail, and they said like, yeah, you know, yes, the ugly is ugly, but there is that like the good kind of the good part of humanity. And thankfully people like Chris are saying, hey, thanks for doing this and thanks for this, because it's those types of people that are making a grocery store worker's day a little bit better, and it doesn't cost anything. You're already there. Just do it. It's the right thing to do.
It truly is.
Get them a $5 Starbucks gift card. You know, there's waitresses and waiters that now we only will go to that restaurant and only see that person because I trust them, because I watched that they washed their hands. They were very careful. Get them a $5 Starbucks gift card. You're already in there every day. That changes that could change their whole day. That could take them from being so sad, from being called names all day. And none of us want to wear the masks. I think it's so I can't see you smile. I miss that a lot. And that's why I like some of these podcasts, because I'm like, you have teeth. I was like, oh my, I haven't seen teeth. I haven't seen teeth in forever. But that's the thing is, like, say thank you. Say you appreciate that person. You know how good it feels when someone does it. Be nice. And with David's campaign, it's stop hating each other. And it's not the website, but just stop hating each other.
Stop the hate.
StopHate.com. Yeah.
No, the other part with .com after it, I really think that it would probably gone over better. I don't know.
Shut the fuck up and be nice.com.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. T-shirt time.
That's right.
Yeah.
T-shirt time.
I just want to really thank y'all again from the bottom of my heart. I really appreciate talking with people like y'all that care about the country, care about the people in the country, and put everything else aside for that mission, for that goal, and take care of your fellow employees, man. And of course, the essential workers issue is a issue I think we'll be seeing more and more of the longer this goes on. If it's really they're nervous on both sides. Nobody wants to be told what to do. Nobody wants, so it's really that whole catch-22 thing. We're all stuck in this trap. So the more we can work together, the more we can communicate, the more we can try to, understand each other. And that's what these little conversations are all about. So listen, I appreciate Chris. I appreciate you and Bailey both. Stop by anytime. We'll do this again real soon. And,
totally.
Great. And Colin Allred, if you're listening, contact me. We can work something out and get something going in our Congress. Just reach out, do something. I'm going to keep posting on your every day. So reach
That's
out.
right.
Reach out.
That's right. We'll hammer the phones on that. That is great. That is great. Well, listen, I appreciate both of y'all, Chris and Bailey.
I appreciate it. Thank you, David.
Yeah, thank you
Good
so
seeing you
much.
again,
Yeah.
Bailey.
Good talking
Awesome.
to you.
Well, y'all
I'll talk
stay
to you
safe.
guys soon. All right, you guys too.
All
right.
Bye.
All right. Bye.